Hello, everyone. Happy Monday afternoon. I am Seth, and I'm here with not Carly.
I am not Carly.
And you can try that joke again later when we actually
I
start
will. I'm
recording.
going to use that joke. That's my
All right.
plan.
Yes, we have our friend John Self is here, and I'm going to let him introduce himself in just a couple minutes. But we want to thank our regulars who are here watching the live stream before we kick off the recording of this week's podcast here for Attractions. First up this week was Jay Silvestri, who wishing a very happy birthday. Got the best birthday present they've ever gotten because Minion Blast opened on their birthday. We will definitely be talking about the
Nice.
grand opening of Minion Blast. Happy birthday to you. Hello to Tolga. I'm not really sure. Something about My Little Pony and Disney, so welcome. And in Derek's corner, as always, we've got Blossom and Michelangelo. Hello, folks. We've also got friend of the podcast, Michael Bingham. What's up with you, Michael? Good to see you, as always. John, you're talking to yourself. That's a little
Yes,
creepy.
I am. It's a little creepy.
And along with Michael, Cindy Bingham's also out there. Hi, Cindy. Good to hear from you. And last but certainly not least, Brian Sager here, as always. If you had to pick for a heat wave, would it be Orlando or Dollywood in Tennessee? I would say that Dollywood probably has a lot more shade and
Yes.
natural trees. Some of these Orlando theme parks are like
Woo.
concrete, a lot of concrete. So yeah, the best, I would say the best theme park to be in a heat wave might be Williamsburg, Busch Gardens in Virginia, because there are so many big old shade trees there. Can always find some cover. But yeah, it is definitely hot all over.
Yeah, I can confirm because I am so far away from you, Seth, over here in Kissimmee right now.
Yeah, right.
Um, um,
You're in a whole different time zone.
right. The afternoons at the theme parks have been less than pleasant.
I've had several times recently when I've had to go to the parks and I have to go in the morning, and by noon I have to leave and go home and take a nap, and then I can come back for a couple hours at closing. But that midday is just brutal.
Yeah, with my schedule and my freelance assignments, there's been a lot of show up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and do your 4 hours. And oh my goodness, I can't believe I survived.
Yep.
It was kind of like that day we were at SeaWorld.
We don't talk about that. that was nearly the death of me. All right. Well, we've got a bunch of people in the chat. We've got our guest co-host here, and I think it is time to kick this thing off in 3, 2.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 204 of the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. I am Seth.
And I'm not Carly.
No, but we are both here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more, as well as what's going on in our own lives. And yes, you might have noticed while I am here, our usual co-host Carly is off reporting on theme parks, Silver Dollar City, and then she's going somewhere even more exotic. So we look forward to having her back in a few weeks. But until then, this week, our good friend and correspondent John Self has stepped in to be not Carly this week.
I'm not Carly, and I'm sorry, Carly. I will do the best I can.
No one can be Carly like Carly, but we are glad to have you here, John. Why don't you introduce yourself very briefly to anyone who isn't already familiar with your work?
My name is John Self. I guess I work as a freelance theme park person. We joke about the fact that I I get to do what you used to do many years ago of list the 27 places that I write for. And so we won't go through all those things.
We don't have that much time. Only an hour.
We don't have that much time, but easiest place to find me is on Twitter or whatever we're calling it now, X or whatever it'll be next week, at Pastor Pastor John, and John is spelled Jon because H's are oo, Self, and that's easy. That's the easiest way to find me.
You managed to work in a Jimmy Fallon joke there. I don't know if I can have you on.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't see that coming? Have you not listened to the 40 other podcasts that I do? And so basically I write about theme parks with a special distinction towards writing about food. So
yes, if you need anything taste tested in an Orlando theme park, John is your man. And especially if you need information about plant-based food, he can hook you up.
Yeah, well, I can try. Some of it is really good, and some of it is, oh my goodness, I'm glad I'm getting paid a small amount of money to eat this. So, and obviously I do write for Attractions Magazine.
Yes, so you can look for his byline on attractionsmagazine.com and a million other outlets. Well, without any further ado, it is great having you here, John. And we will talk about what I got to do this week a little bit later in the show. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into the news in the queue. Okay, first up for this week's news in the queue. Last week, we were out discussing all the details of Universal Studios Florida's Halloween Horror Nights, but now we have the full lineup for HHN 2023 in Hollywood, California. And there is something missing from this list that I think a lot of people expected. There ain't no Megan, folks. No Megan. But
no Megan.
But we do have, in addition to the 5 previously announced haunted houses, we now have confirmation of Evil Dead Rise, 2 original houses, Monstrous, the Monsters of Latin America, and Holidays in Hell, which is an old favorite from Orlando. And finally, the Terror Tram is back with the Exterminators, so I hope you are not afraid of bugs. It looks like a pretty solid lineup this year at HHN Hollywood, which will run for September 7th through October 31st. The Voldemort's loyal Death Eaters will be taking over Hogsmeade's Village. The Last of Us, Stranger Things 4, and The Exorcist Believers are kind of the big IPs this year. We've also got Universal Monsters Unmasked, featuring Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and the Phantom of the Opera and the Hunchback, as well as Chucky, both that we're going to be seeing in both coasts. And then, as we mentioned, the 3 new ones just announced: Evil Dead Rise, based on the most recent Evil Dead film, which I liked a lot. A house based on Latin American legends, legendary monsters. They've had good luck with La Llorona and Chupacabras in the past. And then finally, Holidays in Hell, which is kind of a Universal Orlando throwback that it looks like they are resurrecting out in Hollywood. John, are you planning on attending in Hollywood? And which of these makes you excited? Which of these makes you a little less excited?
Well, as you know how this works in the freelance world, I'm not sure where I'm assigned to go, but I suspect I'm a little more focused on the Busch, the SeaWorld, and the Universal ones here in Orlando this year.
Yep.
But I was really excited to see the Evil Dead Rise finally got announced out there, but with all the drama and all the changes from last year. And you're right, Hollywood has done a great job with these. I'll use the Universal term, the urban legends of cultures, and they've gone from there, done a really good job with that. And if you follow John Murdy on Twitter, and I don't know how you would have any time to do anything else if you John Murdy on Twitter. But if you follow John Murdy,
it's a full-time job keeping up with his tweets.
It is a full-time job. Literally, even I make fun of some freelancers who make articles out of tweets. But I literally have written some articles in the last year based on John Murdy's tweets alone.
Sure.
And he talks about how hard they worked in this Terror Tram script and the VIP experience script. And I know that perhaps they might oversell things sometimes in that position, but it sounds like he genuinely believes it this time.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to make any commentary. It sounds like the event is escalating from what it was in the past.
Yes. I have, we can have a long discussion about the history of especially haunted houses at HHN in Hollywood, the Black Walls.
Yes.
But they do have some really unique things. You are not going to find anything like the Terror Tram in Orlando. And this year's theme, the Exterminators with a Z,
Yes.
featuring an insect uprising led by Larry Larva. It sounds to me, if you liked that kind of campy, tongue-in-cheek Bugs house that we had in Orlando a year past, that this would probably be right up your alley.
One of the other, speaking on that campy type thing, one of the rumors I'm hearing about the Chucky house in Hollywood is because Chucky's taking over, because in Hollywood and Orlando, the idea is Chucky's upset. He's not getting enough credit. He's not considered scary enough. And so he's upset with the people who designed the houses. So he takes over, maybe killing everyone involved. That's kind of the backstory. One of the stories is Chucky's going to make fun of the black walls in his house. And so just so you get an idea of that.
All right. That's a very inside joke that'll be exclusive to the Hollywood version. Nice. I like that. Also, it wouldn't be a Universal event without special food and drink, probably in Blinky cups. They're going to get a Surfer Boy pizza, Scoops Ahoy, and other 80s themed bars out there. They're transforming the Hollywood and Dine restaurant into a Chucky themed barbecue. And what I think is most curious, there is a tie-in with Peacock. There will be a Peacock streaming service themed Halloween horror bar with cocktails based around things that you can see on Peacock.
Yep. And you'll notice, if you're watching closely as an Orlando food person, that several of the food items listed officially by Hollywood have not been officially listed in Orlando yet. Suspiciously, Scoops Ahoy.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if that shows up.
And just to be clear, I know nothing. This is not one of those, John knows, and he's not.
Nope.
I have a clue, no clue.
I know nothing.
I'm not.
I'm
not Sergeant Schultzing.
If you are, wow, you just dated yourself with that reference.
I think the gray hair dated me already. I think I'm good.
So if you are interested in attending Halloween Horror Nights 2023, tickets are on sale, including general admission, express. They have an after 2 p.m. ticket, which is a pretty good way if you want to see some of the daytime park, like the daytime tram, and a few of the daytime attractions in addition to Halloween Horror Nights. That's a good combination. And they've also started, I think it's new this year, an early access ticket that includes access starting at 5:30 p.m. So you don't have much time you don't get into the daytime attractions, but you will get a head start on some of the haunted houses. All of those tickets available and more information at HalloweenHorrorNights.com. All right, our second story, we are moving to the middle of the country, Kings Island, where the Camp Snoopy is being expanded to include a new kids roller coaster, which will make this park the kids coaster capital of the world in 2024. There's going to be a brand new adventure play space themed to Charlie Brown's favorite dog. It's called Beagle Scout Areas. And the new coaster is going to be called Snoopy's Soapbox Racers. It's the park's first family boomerang coaster and the 16th coaster overall. So quite a lineup of coasters. They're going to break ground on this in the fall. And it's an interesting looking coaster. It's a family-friendly coaster, so no big, upside down loops. But you are going to shoot up a 70-foot hill to the starting line, get launched forward, do a lot of twists and turns, and then do the whole thing backwards. Have you ever been out to
Oh,
this park yourself?
I have been to Kings Island hundreds of times, and
It is on my bucket list. I need to do a Midwest trip some year, and this is definitely on it.
yeah, when my child was the appropriate age, he loved Camp Snoopy, and that was when there was they had two separate different kids areas, and they do a really good job at Kings Island, a real upgrade in the last several years of just bringing it up.
Mm.
And when you said how many coasters there were, I was like, oh, that's right. They're right up there with Cedar Point with the amount of coasters they have, and so
Yeah.
they've done a great job with the Peanuts IP and building upon it and creating that and taking something that, okay, yes, let's be fair. I love the Peanuts,
hmm
but it may not be the most popular IP with the average 5-year-old.
I feel like it's evergreen in a
It
certain
is
way.
very,
They don't need to be right in the forefront of culture to kind of just always be there in the background. Even if you don't know them, they're
right.
really appealing.
Yeah, I agree. But they've done a great job with that, and I've been impressed with their discussions, and they've done a good job in keeping it fairly family friendly and price friendly at those two parks.
Well,
Cedar Point and Kings Island.
I've the same corporate family. I've enjoyed the Snoopy area that they have at Knott's Berry Farm out in Southern
Yes.
California very much. This one really also looks lovely. The Beagle Scout Acres area is the troop's official headquarters with new shaded, that's an important word, shaded and nature trees, folks. You can't build a theme park anymore without shade and trees. Grassy areas with camping equipment to climb on and play around, and hosted camptivities throughout the day, led by the Peanuts gang. A whole lot of stuff to do all year round. So if you are interested, they have seasonal and annual passes, 2024 gold passes on sale now. They get you unlimited admission to Kings Island, as well as the water park and the fall festival and Halloween haunt for the rest of this year and all of 2024. If you bought the pass before August 13th, which was yesterday as we're recording this, you got some single-use fast lane to use. So hope someone was able to take advantage of that. And you can head over to visitkingsisland.com right now to buy tickets and get more information.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more of that. Buy the season pass early and get a lot of quick queues, fast queues. That must be working, and I could see the appeal of that.
Yeah, we've seen that from a lot of not necessarily Disney and Universal, but the second tier parks offering those kind of incentives, mostly as a consequence of seeing a relatively slow summer across the theme park industry. So the next big theme park, well, maybe not a big theme park, kind of a small theme park, but an interesting project that we have some news about is the Mattel Adventure Park, which thought was going to open maybe late this year, but they have now set a 2024 opening date. And they are highlighting their Bone Shaker roller coaster and hot on the heels of the record-breaking movie, the Barbie Beach House, which will be your chance to walk through a life-sized Barbie dream home. That's when this all opens in 2024 in Arizona, as that state's first fully themed indoor-outdoor amusement park. This is kind of an interesting project. From the outside, it looks a bit like a mall with a roller coaster coming out of it, alongside a beach. And it is designed to provide a year-round air-conditioned space, as well as outdoor areas to enjoy. And themes here are going to include Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Barbie, a Masters of the Universe laser tag, a mini golf inspired by the Magic 8 Ball, Pictionary, and other board games, and an Uno themed climbing structure. So I don't know, John, if you got a chance to see any of this stuff when it was previewed at
I
IAPA.
I did not, but
Yeah.
I have seen all the stuff and done that thing I do where I edit other people's blogs when they want to get them out quickly, and they said at the beginning this is going to be climate controlled, and obviously you have been to SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. Now I take over the podcast here,
Yeah.
which is the most climate controlled theme park probably. And is this what they're going for? And maybe that's a good idea in Arizona to do that.
I mean, I think that trying to build an all outdoor theme park in Arizona would be a good way of giving a lot of people heat stroke.
Yes.
And this is similar, as you mentioned, SeaWorld in Abu Dhabi is a big blue box, looks like a giant IKEA from the outside, except for the roller coaster track that pokes out through it. And it looks like a similar system here where you'll be queuing and loading for these big rides. We know there'll be 2 big roller coasters, the Bone Shaker, which I did get to see at IAPA.
Right.
And that is based on that iconic skull-shaped hot rod car. And there is also another Hot Wheels roller coaster called the Twin Mill Racer, which they're saying is going to be the first coaster in Arizona with a double loop and 2 corkscrews. They're both still considered family coasters, but made for the tweens and the young teens. And I'm interested to see especially what they do with the Masters of the Universe laser tag. They had some mock-ups of life-sized He-Man and Skeletor figures on display at IAPA that were pretty nifty. I was a He-Man fan as a little kid, so I'd be interested in seeing that one.
Yeah, I mean, my other question is, do they think they would change some of the project for the Barbie section based on the success of the Barbie movie?
Oh, you think they want to blow up? Yeah. You'd think they'd want to take full advantage of that Barbie license, which, as we mentioned, Barbie's Beach House will be a life-sized Barbie home that you can walk through. I'm sure it'll be interactive, lots of stuff to explore. So
apparently there's a special Barbie drink too.
Oh, all right. Well, I bet you it'll be pink.
I think it'll be really pink.
So if you are in Arizona and you want a up close preview, they are going to have that Bone Shaker roller coaster on display on August 8th, 19th, and 20th at the Desert Diamond Arena for the Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live Glow Party. And if you want some information online, you can head to MattelAdventurePark.com. All right, a little closer to home for us, we are going to talk about virtual reality. Zero latency VR, which you can find in Orlando, Florida, at the Icon Park, as well as other locations worldwide, is holding a zombie killing championship. The Champions of the Undead competition. And if you are a good zombie blaster, you could win $15,000. I have not played this particular game, but I have done several other zero latency VR games at their original location. They used to be at Point Orlando in Orlando. They moved to the Max Action Arena Arcade. That's at Icon Park, just underneath the big wheel. And these guys, I believe, also used to be in Las Vegas. I don't think they're in Las Vegas anymore. Honestly, the best commercial VR I've ever done was still The Void, which RIP.
Yes.
They lost their Disney, their Star Wars and Marvel licenses, and then went out of business. These, I would say that of the ones that are still operating, in a large chain, zero latency they're probably the most sophisticated. It's free roaming. You're not tethered to a cable, having to stand in one spot. You can walk all around. It's really, I have an Oculus Quest at home that I play. But it's definitely a step up over that in its capabilities. And if you play their Champions of the Undead game at one of their 70 locations around the world, which is an 80s theme, everything is 80s retro themed. Very popular. My childhood is coming back to haunt us.
Yes, exactly. Haunt us is the right word.
Yes, so kill zombies in a post-apocalyptic game show in an 80s themed retro world. And if you do well enough, you can be entered in the competition now through September 6th. Play as many times as you want, as long as you buy a separate ticket each time. And your highest score will be entered. If you score highest on your regional leaderboard, you can fly to Vegas and compete in the grand finale on October 5th, 2023. And I think that one is located at the MGM Grand, I believe.
I believe you're right.
Yes, I have done that there. I did that one with my boss from the Unofficial Guides. It was his pretty much his first virtual reality experience. We made the poor choice of doing a puzzle game based on sort of MC Escher, where you have to walk up walls and on ceilings. And it was so disorienting that he had to crawl on his hands and knees on the floor to avoid just toppling over. Yes, do not start with that one if it's your first VR experience ever. Anyway, if you join this competition and you happen to win, you will not only receive $15,000, but the two runners-up will also be receiving an HTC Vive XR Elite headset worth about $1,100. And runners-up in each region will also get XR Elites. So that's a pretty nifty prize. Got to be at least 18 years old to play. Like I said, if you're in the Orlando area, head to Icon Park, and the 15-minute game sessions there cost $25 per person. It's not private, so if you have fewer than 8 people in your group, you're going to be paired up with some strangers. But good way to get out aggression and shoot some random strangers in the head non-violently.
We will clip that part out of the podcast to use inappropriately, but yes, that's a good point.
Yeah, well, Icon Park already had issues with that. They had that game where they had given everyone laser tag guns to shoot from the wheel and had to quickly swap those out for cameras. But this is VR. These are zombies. I think we all still agree it's okay to shoot zombies in the head. We've all got to be prepared when that inevitable zombie apocalypse comes. Right?
Yes, we do need to be prepared,
right.
Especially before Halloween.
So as I mentioned, just head on over to Icon Park or look up Zero Latency online. All right, and our final bit of news in the queue. If you are a Family Guy fan, you are going to want to head to Los Angeles because the Fox animated series is coming to life as a miniature golf experience. There will be putt-putt, specialty drinks, food, merchandise, and photo ops when Giggity Golf comes to Los Angeles. I cannot say that I am a huge Family Guy fan, though I do appreciate that it eventually led to the existence of the Orville. But this looks like it could be a lot of fun if you are into this show, because there will be fully themed golf replicas of the Griffin living room, the Drunken Clam Bar, the Eat My Junk food truck. I believe it's not a full-blown mini golf course. I think it's maybe 8 holes. but it certainly sounds like it will be Instagram worthy.
Do we say be fair to Florida now, or do we wait and find out?
We wait and find out if it's any good,
Okay.
and then we can complain to not bring it here.
Okay.
Are you a Family Guy fan? Are you a mini golf fan? Are you a fan
I
of Family Guy mini golf?
I am a huge mini golf fan. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of Family Guy. I don't think that would surprise you, but I do appreciate the creativity and everything that goes into that. But I think this is great, and with the dynamic of Fox and Disney, it'll be interesting to see if more of these things kind of pop up.
Yeah. So this is going to debut in downtown Los Angeles on September 22nd. Every ticket is going to include both a reserved spot, a guaranteed time window, so hopefully you won't be stuck sitting around for a long time. And if you spring for a VIP ticket, you also get a welcome drink. You want to head over to bucketlisters.com or follow at Family Guy Mini Golf and at Los Angeles Bucket List on social media for more information. That is going to just about wrap up our news in the queue. Before we get into this week's main attraction, it is time to hear a word from our sponsor.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and MouseFan Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at mei-travel.com.
It's time for the main attraction!
And for this week's main attraction, yes, you got it, Minion Land on Illumination Avenue, along with VillainCon Minion Blast, have officially opened after an extended soft opening period at Universal Studios Florida and Universal Orlando. And I think we might both have some thoughts about this new addition. First, let's run down the facts. It officially opened on August 11th, and this includes the VillainCon Minion Blast, Minion Cafe, Bake My Day, the Freeze Pops stand, the Pop Nana cart, and as well as the pre-existing Despicable Me ride and shop. Um, they did not have any sort of grand opening ceremony, as far as I could tell. I was not there at rope drop from the folks who were there. Don't believe they really did anything for the general public. They'd had a media day the day before. Pretty much open business as usual because they've been, had the land soft open for, I guess, more than a month now. Almost.
Yep.
And the ride's been running for a couple weeks. The ride, of course, is VillainCon Minion Blast, inspired by the Vicious Six from Minions Rise of Gru. An interactive shooter ride where you get to experience life as a piece of luggage at the airport.
But
Thank you. I'll be here all week. You've also got the Evil Stuff gift shop at the exit, Illumination Theater, which is a small outdoor area where they have meet and greets with characters from both Despicable Me and Sing. And the Minion Cafe, which is, I believe, where John has probably spent most of his time.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have never been to Minion Cafe ever.
You may have
I think that's a lie.
You may have tasted more items at Minion Cafe than any other person not employed by Universal Food Service. And
it's possible.
I thank you for your contributions to the Minion Cafe review that will be appearing in my unofficial guide to Universal Orlando 2024. Shameless, selfish plug right there. So let's just dive right into it. John, I've talked a bit about my my likes and dislikes. What are some of your favorite things and least favorite things in the new Minion Land?
Two things. One, thank you
I think
Forgot.
we. Sorry, I think I very briefly lost you. In case
You
anyone
did. You
else
did.
did.
You did cut out.
Okay, let's try that again.
Yeah. I was making a cute comment about thank you for acknowledging that you let me write for the unofficial guide on occasion. And two, if you want to find out about the food, I think there's a best article about food at Minion's Cafe at Attractions Magazine. Okay, all the shameless plugs.
Excellent.
Let's go back to your question.
So, what are some of your personal likes and dislikes?
I really like the way they've turned that production central area into a real land, because that has always been a problem for Universal Studios Florida. It's still a problem for Hollywood Studios over at Walt Disney World. It's just, how do you create these lands when you threw these parks up in competition towards each other? So
It's interesting
love,
that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people are kind of confused when they're used to, you go to a place like Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Islands of Adventure, and you walk into a richly detailed environment that it takes you into another world and surrounds you with it. And Universal Studios Florida, which is very much based on the model of Universal Hollywood, you walk into basically an office park.
Yes.
You walk into a bunch of big beige warehouses, and that was very intentional. That you were going to ride the movies, and this was not trying to fool you into thinking that you were actually in Hollywood, but that you were in a movie. There are movie facades. We still have a lot of that at like Star Tours in Disney. Hollywood Studios has that kind of fake facade look to it. And it's not necessarily what a modern theme park guest expects when they walk into a theme park. So we now have this blend. There's still touches, the Villain Con building is still officially Soundstage V. Used to be Soundstage 4D when it was Shrek 4D, but it still dates back to the same Soundstage building that was when it was Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and when Despicable Me was Hanna-Barbera back in the day. So a little of that movie making DNA is still left, but now we've got this kind of facade, this coating of minionization on top of it. And it's, if you really wanted to study it from an architectural or aesthetic point of view, it is kind of interesting to see the evolution of almost from kind of a postmodern to a postmodern take on theme park design. So that's a really good observation. So yes, as we head on down Minion Land, our Illumination Avenue, I guess is technically called
the Illumination Avenue. I mean, they did a great job in I don't want to call it retrofitting, but making it an actual land in that area. You walk through, and let's just be honest here, and we're not going to get into theme park business and all of that, but Universal Orlando Resort as a whole lacked attractions that everyone could ride. And so if you were, I've written in various outlets in the last week or two about what are the difference between the two parks and what are the things. Well, until the DreamWorks Land opens in 2024, Universal Orlando lacks a lot of obvious kid-friendly rides. You have Seuss Landing, you have things like that. But whether it's practical for some of these small children to carry this gigantic blaster, that's a different conversation. Because it is a large blaster. And
we can absolutely talk about it. But you put your finger right on it, that in writing the touring plans and the unofficial guides, telling parents with little kids who are below 40 inches, say, what they can do with their kid at Universal. It's a very short list. And Islands of Adventure has some wonderful playgrounds, and some things in Seuss that everyone can do, but without Kid Zone, while DreamWorks is still a construction zone, you can count on one hand, even if you are a wood shop teacher and you're missing a couple fingers, you can still count on one hand what you can do with a little kid. So the ability to have something that you can go on with no height requirement, that you can literally roll a wheelchair on, though it is a
Yes.
bit challenging to do that. It's not as easy as it looks going when it goes around corners. But it is, yeah, definitely a point in VillainCon's favor that it is accessible. After, I feel like every time we have a new Universal attraction open, we have a round of controversy about, are the restraints
Right.
friendly to larger people? Are they friendly to disabled people? We don't have any restraints, we don't have any lawsuits, we don't just anyone, as long as
Right.
you can stand up on your own or sit in a wheelchair, you can go on it. So
Yeah,
that is definitely a point in its favor.
and it is great as long as you stay on your dot and do all these things, because there was a lot of confusion. People didn't understand how the blasters worked and how it corresponded to your
Hmm.
dot, and how you actually, it's not a MIB attraction. It's where you can just hold the gun. You have to
Yeah.
actually shoot this gun, and that
I will say
that
it
becomes a
is
problem after a while.
It is, if you have not been on it, the biggest surprise for me is that it was a little more of a physical workout, and it
Yes.
just endurance test. Um, you know, uh, maybe I am a lazy American, unaccustomed to standing on my own for nearly 6 minutes, because it is a fairly lengthy attraction. If you stay on your dot the whole time and you don't just walk out like a lot of people do when it gets to the final scene, it is actually just short of 6 full minutes from
Mhm.
start to finish, which is quite a long time for a theme park ride. And the blaster, it's about almost 5 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot. But if you take a little 5 pound barbell and hold that up in the air, because you're holding it so you can aim with it, especially if for disabled people, for younger, for little kids, it can be a little challenging. And I'm getting my carpal tunnel building up
Mhm.
from pulling that trigger, because I wish it did have an auto fire option where you could
Yes.
just hold that down, because squeezing that trigger over and over again, I'm building up my muscles.
Yeah, and speaking as an older guy, because I'm older. When you're trying to compete and get a better score than the 20 somethings you're on the ride with,
Yeah.
yeah, it starts to wear you out after a little while.
Yeah. So yes, it is. It's a little more physical than I expected.
Hmm.
Um, I don't, I don't have a burn in my biceps the way I do after playing Spider-Man out in California, at DCA. It's not quite that aerobic, but
Well, would you compare the workout to? I'm going to say the wrong name. I would say it, Toy Story Midway Mania.
Yeah, that's a different kind of carpal tunnel, because the very specific rope pulling gesture, which I will
Hmm.
not make on camera uh, right now, that's its own kind of interesting type of repetitive stress injury.
Right. Hmm.
um, but they do offer, if your kids are young enough that they are having trouble holding that gun, and are not really aware of what they're doing with it, they do have toy replica guns that don't actually interact. But if your kid's young enough, they probably won't notice the difference. So you can
Right.
try to swap that out on them. One thing I will say, since the first time that I talked about this attraction on this show, is the few times I did it, the app was not at all active. And the last few times I have been able to do the app, I would say I get it to be able to pair up with my phone almost 50% of the time, which, still some bugs to work out. I will say I'm not a huge fan of the ride, but getting it to pair up, getting the leaderboard, being able to track challenges and missions really does add
Yes.
another dimension to it. It does give you an incentive to rewrite it. I think without that app, I would have very little incentive to redo the attraction. But with it, I admit I've been checking to make sure that I'm still on the top 100 leaderboard, and like, all right, got to go back and improve my score.
Yeah, I mean, you can our boss Matt. As many times
Mhm.
as he and I tried to get in there and get the get the app to work and test it out and make video of it.
Yep.
It
No
it's
luck for
pretty
you?
it's pretty inconsistent at this point, but
Yes, absolutely. Very
we were
inconsistent.
trying to do it the very first couple of days, and so
Mhm.
that was hard. But it was a little bit of a struggle even on official opening day.
Yes, I agree. I would say, official opening day, I think I rode 4 times, and I got the app to work about 50% of the time. And I'll
Yeah.
also say that I had a stoppage, where the belt came slowed to a stop and paused for a while. That's happened about 25% of the time that I've been on the attraction.
So
Um,
if like in Buzz Lightyear when that happens, could you still get score points when that happens, or do the screens go
um,
away?
I think I was able to keep shooting for a certain amount of time, but then an announcement came on and the scores paused.
Okay.
So I think maybe if they just maybe go to a crawl mode, or they do a brief pause, you can keep
Right.
shooting. But if it's an extended pause, I know on Men in Black, there are times if you get paused in the
Yes.
right spot where you can hit one of the bonus targets.
Yeah.
That's an
Even I
easy
can.
all nines right there.
Right. I can max out if we get stuck there. That's the only.
Yeah,
It's the only time I've
exactly.
even gotten close to all nines. So.
The other thing I will say, to update my previous reviews of Minion Blast is, for the very first time, I was very disturbed by the amount of lag and stutter, and it was like you're trying to run in 4K on an Xbox Series S,
Right.
and it just can't maintain the frame rate. Uh, it has been completely inconsistent. It's gotten better. It's gotten worse. I found that when I go and I'm there early in the morning, and uh, there's relatively few people there. If you're one of the first people in the attraction, seems to work great. At mid-afternoon, it's like the longer it keeps running, that it has to dump the memory or something, because it when there are people on almost every dot, it simply cannot handle the number of things exploding, the number of
Right.
targets moving around, and it becomes just pure chaos at a certain point. And I kind of it's if I had issues with getting triggered by flashing lights and random flashing images like that, it would not be an attraction I want to do, because like the disco scene is just a mess.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
my number one suggestion, I filled out one of the surveys, and I said they should speed up the belt by 20% and reduce the number of dots by 20%. Because right now I think first of all, I think the ride's a little too long. I'm kind of bored by the end of it, and with so many people at the same time, it's too many people for it to be legible what's happening. I think fewer
Yeah.
people and a shorter ride would be a better experience.
And one other tiny variable for those of us who are
Mm.
legally colorblind, there
Oh,
was some
I
issues in
didn't
figuring
even
out
think of that.
where you're actually shooting.
Yes,
And
I can
and
imagine.
you don't get to decide your color, like letting you behind the scenes, not boring your audience. But
Ah,
when you're legally colorblind, you can see blue and yellow. That's why tennis balls are optic yellow. There's all those reasons for that. Um,
interesting.
but what if you get green, which
Ah,
I got 3 times in a row, and I had a hard time distinguishing where it was. Now they do have come in
sure.
different symbols, but you don't get to choose your color or your symbol. It's just whatever your blaster has. So that's another factor.
Now I know if you use the app, you can customize things like your name and a background
Yes.
color for your symbol, but I don't know if that translates to the blaster itself, if that
Yeah,
affects the
I
target
didn't
on the
find a
blaster.
way on the app to be
On
able
that
to do
particular
that.
That is very interesting. I will recommend, so if you have gotten the app to sync, go into the Gadget Lab, customize your
Hmm.
blaster, and make sure you fill in all of your available perks. If you
Yes.
play it a couple times, you'll unlock these perks, and it doesn't automatically turn them on. What I like doing is, like right now, I've unlocked all the perks for the Fireball. So Fireball is one of the upgraded weapons that you can get by shooting these big crates that are located throughout the ride. Or if you're using the app, you can pre-select that. So I start out with the Fireball, and I've got it spread, upgrade, and triple blast. So I basically, from the very start, I'm just throwing these huge fireballs all across the screen.
Right.
And that really lets you knock out the big bad guys right from the start. You don't have to worry about collecting upgrades because you've got the upgrade right from the start. So make sure go in, dig into those settings in the lab, and upgrade your blaster. I think that pretty much covers Villain Con.
I think so.
The only other note that I would have is, normally, at Unofficial Guides, we're all about efficient touring plans. And normally we would say a big new attraction, you're going to want to rope drop that and get that out of the way. It's really not necessary. The wait times never seem to get much more than 30 minutes. The actual wait times are consistently 10 to 15 minutes less than what they're posting. And Villain Con always seems to have less than a wait than Despicable Me right across the street, which has been there for over a decade. So I think you can safely save this for early mid-afternoon when everything else is really busy. You're still not going to have a terrible wait over this. You don't need to prioritize it.
Right, but it took them, as you and I talked about, it took them a couple of weeks to get to this point where this became a people eater.
Yes, it's had some inconsistencies, and it does pause occasionally, but the maximum theoretical capacity that I've calculated is about 1440 per hour, and the times that I've sat there kind of doing head counts, they've been running closer to 1200 people an hour, which is decent. It's not huge. Hagrid's gets more people an hour, but it's also, they've got two different Despicable Me rides right across the street from each other. So it kind of spreads demand a little. I haven't heard a lot of people come out of this one immediately saying, I'm going to get right back in line and do that again. I think for a lot of people, unless they discover the app, it's one and done for them. So we'll have to see how this holds up long term. Something I do think will hold up better long term, though, that we need to talk about is Minion Cafe. And since I teased earlier that you are a Minion Cafe veteran, you have survived the wars. What are
just because we had everything on opening day, and we literally did have everything. It took 8.5 hours, but we had everything opening day.
I've talked about some of my favorites. I like that Szechuan chicken. It's an impressive size portion.
Yes.
I like the cheese ray steak. It's kind of like an upgraded Arby's. The Minion Tots are fantastic. And I just the other day had what I think is the best vegan entree in the park, the cauliflower. The tempura cauliflower. I don't know what makes the rice blue, but it doesn't seem to have ruined my digestion like the purple drink does to some people. So I'm happy with it. And I thought that was just fantastic. So what are some of your favorites, least favorites? What are your tips and tricks for Minion Cafe?
Okay. Well, you said tips and tricks, so this may take a little while. Let's follow up on what you just said. Right. The non-vegan version of the cauliflower dish, the cauliflower dish is excellent. The non-vegan version of the salmon dish, which is about $4 more, is actually quite good. I mean, granted, it is theme park food, right? But I've had the salmon dish 3 or 4 times now, and it's been above average quality every single time.
Good to know.
All right, it comes with similar things with that. If you're going to go with a sandwich, I would recommend you get the pork sandwich. I'm blanking on what it is. I think it's Drew's pork sandwich, but it's well done. I totally concur.
I would just like, for the record, to document that we do have a recording here of a pastor telling a Jew that he should be eating a pork sandwich.
I would like to be clear that I am saying you asked.
I am so non-kosher. Don't worry.
Yes, I've eaten with Seth many times. I wasn't worried, but
all the traits. Bring me all the traits.
Probably the best dessert is the Otto's Pet Rock.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I forgot to mention, yes, it is not only adorable, but it is delicious. If you like peanut butter and jelly, it is like
Mm-hmm.
a perfect combination of a nice peanut butter mousse and just a touch of jelly and well balanced. Excellent choice.
And I'm still shocked by this. The Swiss roll, that kind of looks like a minion,
Yep.
is clearly, every single time I've had it, and other people I trust had it, is one of the worst dessert items at the Minion Cafe. And it's one of they sell it over at Bake My Day too, and
Yes.
apparently it's one of the top sellers at Bake My Day.
So I have an odd soft spot for like Little Debbie, like
Yes.
that's the that kind of like throwback old fashioned
Mhm.
Swiss roll thing. So I didn't hate the Swiss roll itself, but I did not read the description well
Correct.
enough. The little cute banana that comes with it
Mhm.
is not banana, but it is like passion fruit. It's like a
Passion
very
fruit.
tart gel inside, and that was not my favorite.
Yeah, it's not great,
Yeah,
but it's
I would
really
stick with
bad
the
if you
pet
think
rock.
it's banana. Yeah,
Yeah,
stay with the
if
Pet
you're
Rock.
thinking banana, you bite into a banana and it's not banana. Stick with the
Okay,
pet rock.
and since I'm on the podcast with Unofficial Guide, I can say this next
Yes.
thing because it's gonna get my press media credentials revoked from
Okay.
Universal the times I get to go.
You have media credentials?
I do sometimes. Yes, it's shocking, isn't it?
Not anymore. Not
Not
after
after
talking
not
to
after
me.
this, not after this next statement. Minion Cafe, they really designed it really well, and they reworked all the things that Monsters Cafe that we loved about Monsters Cafe, but they gave us something bright and shiny that goes with the kids area.
Mm-hmm.
However, Universal's insistence, and I'm still being told that we better get used to this for Epic Universe. Universal's insistence to use this mobile order table delivery system
Mm-hmm.
is not working very well. I have recommended, and we have tested it several times. I would recommend don't use the mobile order. When they seat you at your table, walk to the counter that's just to the right of the entrance and order with a real person and tell them what table you're at. You'll get your food on average 50% faster.
Okay, so I believe that I want in my heart to believe that a nation that went to the moon can figure out a way to make mobile ordering work. I use it all the time at Disney. I think that mobile ordering, when there's a designated window for picking up, both a time window, which they finally added for mobile ordering, which they didn't have for far too long, and also a physical window, a designated location to pick up mobile order food, I think can work fantastic. I think you're absolutely right that the hybrid system for table delivery mobile order is unnecessarily confusing. You wind up with this mob of people standing outside the door, not sure whether they can go into the restaurant or not. And I think a lot of it is that just the verbiage when you are using the mobile order system, the instructions that they give you on the screen do not necessarily match what you're actually supposed to do in real life.
Right. And as we learned at one experience you and I had at a fabled restaurant that is rarely open, that is trying to serve Mexican food these days. What happens is, because of the system, orders get lost if you send them through the mobile order system. They literally get lost, and you're waiting 45 minutes wondering where your food is.
So I will say, I have not personally had my food get lost. The way that I do it is I do my order, I submit my order, I pay for my order and everything before I even walk towards the restaurant. I think a lot of people walk up to the restaurant, wait to be seated at a table, and then they start putting their order together.
Right.
I do everything, submit it and everything, so that when I walk up to the restaurant door and I show them, it says, I've already got an order submitted. And then they're like, oh, okay, let us get you to your table. That has generally worked out for me. The
I think that's good advice.
the biggest problem that I have had with it, it's because it seems to like jump your order to the front of the line if you've already done the first couple steps before you even walk up to the door. The problem that I've had is the tags on the tables. The whatever chips they have in there, half the time they simply won't scan, period.
Right.
And even then, sometimes, like, I've had the system like say, okay, I know where you are. I haven't even gotten to my table yet, but it thinks it knows what table I'm at.
Yes.
So yes, the best advice is probably go to that cashier and just say, if you are sitting there at your table for an inordinately long time waiting for a mobile order and nothing's happening, go up and find that cashier and try to do it face to face, because that usually seem to get things expedited.
One plus, like say your beverage comes out and you're still waiting for your food, which happens a lot.
Mhm.
One plus is there's not team members assigned to tables. You can ask any team member to help you out, and they will point you in the right direction. So that's a plus.
That is a plus and a minus. You can flag down anyone, but also like no one takes ownership of any particular table. So I also I don't know if it was just the day I was there, but I noticed that the freestyle machine in there didn't seem to be scanning cups like for activation. It was just outputting. So I don't know if that's typical or if I just got lucky that day.
I believe in chatting with my friends in food and beverage. I'm not allowed to answer this question.
So, moving on from Minion Cafe, I have tried the specialty beverages that they serve, both in Minion Cafe and Pop Nana. Like I said, I've not experienced it myself. People have talked about some interesting day after results from the purple drink. I personally like the banana soda better. But
well, the biggest problem with the purple drink is it's not grape.
It's not. Well, yeah, you think it's going to be great, but it's like some weird strawberry
kiwi.
Yeah.
I prefer the purple drink, but it's not grape.
Yeah. It's not grape, and it's also not great.
Yeah, I get that. But I apparently want to be a purple minion.
I have not tried the popcorn or the freeze raid pops personally yet. What is your favorite among those?
The popcorn is really good is overselling it. If you like glazed flavored popcorn,
okay,
the banana popcorn is really good. The first couple times they had it, it was inconsistent with the glaze, but they've kind of smoothed that out. Literally,
so it's more of like a kettle corn coating than a powder coating.
Yes.
Okay.
It is far more. There are lots of places not far from where I am that sell this in Kissimmee.
Okay.
So not this type, but you can get this flavored popcorn. It's not unusual.
Gotcha.
The freeze pops are pretty good. I would want to point out, as I pointed out several times, that these are the same freeze pops that you can see at Fresh Eats at the City Walk Hub.
Oh, they've been selling those for quite some time.
However, the Minion ones, some of them are an upgrade with better designs and better coating, but they're kind of like having a cool frosting on top of the standard cupcake. You're still getting the same product, but be careful, as we witnessed, especially this past week.
Yeah,
those will melt
right
quickly.
off the stick.
so be careful. As someone who's tried lots of sweet treats in lots of parks in the last couple of weeks, you good luck finding as we were talking about shaded places.
Yeah,
Minion Land doesn't offer enough shaded places.
No, there are no trees. They're even the queue for Villain Con. They did the absolute minimum, maybe even less than the minimum for the exterior queue, because you've got one section that's got some big triangle pieces of fabric that sort of give a little bit of shade, and then there's a patch. I hope the line never grows long enough to need that patch of extended queue that has no shade at all, because people are going to be dropping left and right.
Right. Well, I got to experience that extended queue on a busier day, and it was raining.
Not fun.
So
Not fun.
that's all I'm going to say. And then you got into that little covered area that
Mm-hmm.
we walk that's outdoor. Stuff drips off of there, so that's going to need to be
Yes.
worked on.
Yeah, for sure. Finally, Bake My Day. You mentioned that you're not a big fan of the Swiss rolls. Have you tried anything from Bake My Day that you would recommend?
We have tried
Mhm.
everything at Bake My Day,
Is that a royal
and
we?
that.
There's three of you now after you've tried everything. That's
No, I am part of a group, but
yes,
we all
yeah,
did try it.
yes.
I think the products are a step up from what you would get, but Universal has done a really good job, especially at Studios Florida, with their bakery cases at San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco Pastry Company and Today Cafe.
Sure.
And so these are kind of what you would expect from those. They're nothing spectacular, but I do have to say, if you're walking into Bake My Day and you're the kind of person who falls for cute treats and your bank account is low, do not walk in here.
No.
And it's also a merchandise location, so you can buy all kinds of cupcakes and Minion sweet treat
Well, you know
merchandise
what?
items.
I would say it reminds me of it used to be the Hello Kitty store used to have a
Yes,
treat case with really kawaii,
right.
Hello Kitty characters formed into s'mores and stuff. And this seems like the closest thing we have to that since that went away.
No, I think that's a good reference in doing that thing that I
Mhm.
do off camera. I'm going to use that in a future article and not give you credit. Okay,
Please,
so
please do, please do.
okay, that's a good comparison because that was something that left the Hello Kitty store a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, if you are interested in checking all of this out for yourself, Universal right now has a great special 3 months extra free. If you buy a 12-month annual pass, it will magically turn into a 15th month annual pass. And that's really a great deal. I wish they had announced that not a week after I renewed my annual pass, but oh well.
Well, I am counting the days because I'm almost to a 30-day renewal
Almost ready
window.
to renew.
I'm,
Good.
I'm almost ready, so I'm counting the days and hoping it doesn't disappear. And maybe I've just jinxed myself, but that's okay.
Well, you can find out more about all of this, of course, at universalorlando.com and follow all of our coverage of Minion Land at attractionsmagazine.com. And now, before we wrap things up, we are going to take a quick look back at some of the comments that were left for us during the show. From everything you need to know, our good friend Theron White says John has eaten so much food that some of his visits are basically food challenges. I no
wish
lie
that
there.
wasn't true.
No lie there. Scott Davis is saying howdy, everyone. Howdy, right back. So here is from Brian Sager. John Murdy, who is in charge of Halloween Horror Nights out in Hollywood, said that The Exorcist, The Believer isn't really a spoiler for the upcoming film. It's more of a sampler for when you see the movie, making it more like the ultimate movie trailer. Because we had talked about a previous episode how
Right.
this Exorcist Haunted House is going to be based on a movie that isn't even coming out yet.
That's correct. The Hollywood version is going to
Mhm.
be literally a
Preview.
snapshot. I'll walk through the trailer
Yeah.
the trailer that will be released when Halloween Horror Nights opens. There's another trailer coming out.
And Brian, yes, we are long overdue for Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
It was rumored last year based on the spec maps. It's good. Yes, good that Hollywood is getting a much needed new IP. I still want someday for us to get a genuine original Evil Dead, or better yet, Evil Dead 2 house. We've gotten we got the Evil Dead remake, which was well done. But we got the Ash versus Evil Dead based on the TV show. But I want something based on the original Evil Dead 2, or even Army of Darkness. We had Adventures by D wanting to say hi to you, John. And finally, Brian summing it all up, our Minion Cafe discussion. So much banana themed food, it is literally bananas. I think that we can't top that, and we should just end the show right
we
there.
should walk off on that one. Yes.
All right. Well, before we go, we have to thank again our sponsors, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. I want to remind everyone to please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to us. And be sure to follow us at attractionsmagazine.com. Search for Attractions Magazine on your favorite social media accounts. You can find me on all your social media at skuberski. John, let folks know once again where they can follow you.
Easiest place to find me is on Twitter at Pastor John. Yes, John is spelled without an H. John Self, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all those other kind of things, and Threads. Usually, it's under John Self 37, I believe.
37. What happened to the first 36 of you?
I
Failed
don't
experiments.
know. I don't know how many John Selfs there are in the world. Exactly.
Failed clones. All right. Well, until next week, we hope you folks stay safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.